Hello and welcome everybody. We have Marilou on the show again today. This is your second time,
Mm.
and something like a lot of changes have been happening. I mean, you've got a cast on your arm, so you poor thing. But it
Not at
fits.
all.
Well, that's good. I'm glad. I've never worn a cast, but it was so strange that today's topic is becoming one with the body when
Mm.
I had no idea that you had done anything to your arm. I didn't know. And today's mum's like has a bit of like
Puffy thing going
a
on.
puffy thing.
Mm.
I don't have anything going on beyond a mozzie bite on my hand, which is
Where?
quite annoying, right
Oh
there.
yeah, on. Oh no,
So
on the
like
palm.
it's right on the palm, but like honestly, my issues I can deal with, so it's fine. Not that
I
bad, but
actually would love to speak to that if that's
yeah,
okay. That is
yeah.
just so perfect there, right there, right? Because I had a friend last night message me, and there was a lot of overwhelm going on with her and her child, and just stuff that's been going on for her that she's been dealing with. And I held space and listened and, offered advice where needed. Um, and then, she asked me, like, how are you doing and stuff? And I just said, gosh, like, I finally got an Uber today because I couldn't expect my dad to come, like my stepdad to come pick us up, take us up back to his place, and then drop us back home and go back.
Mm.
And I said, like for me to receive and to ask for help in that way is such a big thing. And
Mm.
even when people offer in my body, I feel that resistance that I have to work with, right?
Yeah.
And so I just said to her, I was like, um, it's just been really hard relying on people to drive us around, even just for the simplest things to go to the post office or whatever it is. And she goes, oh my God, here I am whinging to you, and I forgot how hard it must be for you. And I went, hang on a minute, you're still allowed to whinge, like what you're
Yeah.
going through. So whether it's a mozzie bite on your hand, like I've got one right here that's burning up. I don't know if you can see it. Actually,
Yeah, I can
yeah,
see
like
it.
this whole area just burns up. Now, especially because I work with kids, if a child comes to me and says this is burning up, I'm not gonna say to them, oh, I've got a broken arm, don't whinge about your mozzie.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
that's still painful to them,
Mm.
regardless.
Yeah.
And so I guess what I'm saying
So
is that we
true.
all have our own little things. And I guess, I'm just bringing this up because it's like just paying attention, especially I think with children. And as
Mm.
adults, it's like a child might complain about a little paper cart, and that is like their whole world is in pain. It's like, oh, just get over it. Like, mum's got a broken arm. What are you going on about?
Yeah.
Mm.
And we just bringing that awareness to that, just because it's a small mozzie bite or a broken arm or even worse, what we tend to do is we compare and then we minimize how
Yeah.
what we're going through.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
Yeah,
that
their
just fit in
experience.
perfectly there with
We, yeah, we each have our own experience, and in that experience, we're feeling it all. Like, and to compare your experience with somebody else's is like you're either like that's to me that's damaging. Like
it
I had a bit
is.
of a whinge about something the other day, and somebody said to me, "Oh well, at least we're not living in the Ukraine." Just saying,
I
you
get that so much, and I do actually love coming back with, well, I have lived in war and perhaps I'm whinging the way that I am because I know what that's like
know.
and I could see what could happen.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, and everything's
yeah,
about perspective, right? And it's like, oh, I
exactly the
can't feel
thing.
bad. I mean, I used to get this as a child, even when I grew up in Lebanon, and we had abundant food. We ate from the land a lot of the times. Um, there was a lot more fresh things. We were lucky. We were actually quite lucky, considering it was a war-torn country. But if I couldn't finish something on my plate, I would get from especially grandparents, I think of the people in Africa. They're
Yeah.
starving. And I'm like, well, do you want to ship them my plate? So I should become obese and eat over what my body has said to stop because someone in Africa is going to starve regardless of whether I finish my meal
Yes,
or not. So it
yes.
is a very societal thing, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
that we kind of get into. And you're spot on. It's like, even throughout the pandemic, it's like when I would use my voice, I would get people jump on the bandwagon of, oh, well, aren't you lucky you're not in Bali? Look what's happening there. Look what's happening in here. And I'm like,
Mm.
yeah, look what's happening in the Middle East. And I see this is where we're going to be heading if we actually
Yes.
don't whinge about it now.
Yeah.
Yes, so
Just a
true.
different perspective. So I guess it's all about perspective. It's all about, and I guess in this, it's just don't minimize. And this is what we tend to do, especially with young people, right? We squish their feelings, minimize it. You're lucky. And this is where I really have a big ick with gratitude. Oh, you should be grateful. And that's not how
Yeah.
gratitude works.
Yeah. It's not gratitude, it's guilt.
Exactly, we're shaming rather than exactly, we're
Yeah.
guilting them into, oh, you shouldn't feel like that, and
Mm.
you're lucky you've got a roof over your head or you've got a meal. I mean, especially with our kids, we can speak to them about, their blessings. But yeah, when that comparison, I think, comes in, especially, but speaking of third world countries, I think my boys are going to have quite an experience and quite an awakening because we've booked to go to Lebanon.
Oh,
Oh.
So in
cool.
their
I've never
unschooling
been there. I
journey,
would love to go there.
it's very different apparently now. My brother just came back because he went to France for a little bit and he dropped in for a few days to see my family there. And he said it's just the energy is really heavy, and my boys are
Mm.
quite energetic, so I'm sure they'll pick a lot of that up, and we're just going to have to do a lot of clearings. Um, and I was hoping I could go to an orphanage and kind of just awaken them a little bit. They're just at that right coming of age where I just think, and they're so blessed here despite all the big changes they have had, just to give them that different perspective and show them without the guilt and the shame. It's like just compare.
This is
And I
what life
guess
is like for
this
some
is what
people.
life is, yeah, of some people. And this is what mum, to a certain degree, grew up with in her first 10 years in your age, up to your age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and again, I just love the analogy of this is the mozzie bite, this is my puffiness, and this is the broken hand. And
Mm.
it's like, and I guess that's where we can come into like, yes, this mozzie bite really hurts. I'll feel the feels, um, but geez, I count my blessings. It's not a broken
Mm.
arm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's how we kind of start using gratitude. It's not
Yes.
squashing down our feelings. It's giving them that voice, but then in that also realizing my arm's not cut off or I'm not, you know what I mean? Like it's that
Yeah.
spectrum.
It's
It's
sort of
such a
like a
skill.
it's a full circle, isn't it? Because we can feel gratitude that our arm is not cut off, right? And not like that's not a shameful thing. Like somebody doesn't have to come to you and say, "Well, don't complain about your mozzie bite because it's not a broken arm or whatever."
Try.
Um, we can still have gratitude, like real gratitude, not guilt-ridden gratitude,
Mm-mm.
seeing life how it is for other people, like what you're talking about with your boys, taking them to Lebanon. Like I went to South Africa and I saw an orphanage in South Africa. I was an adult
Yeah.
when I went, and it added so much to my life experience, and I'm forever grateful that I had that experience,
Yeah.
because it, you know, even as a child or as an adult, if you put yourself in those situations, you can um, grow yourself, your character.
Oh, I can tell you so much, Claudia. My travel
Mm,
experiences, like, when people go, what's your qualification? I'm like, life.
yeah,
Because, my degree gave me a smidgen of what my travel has given me and my living
yeah.
interstate. So, Julia, if I'm going to ever plant a seed here, I mean, you even just moving to
Where it
Byron right
goes.
there is a bit of a, like it's really standing on your 2 feet
Mm,
um, and it's just seeing the work through different lenses. And it's
yes.
funny you said South Africa because for me, despite being born in Lebanon and I've lived in Brazil, traveled quite a bit extensively around South America and Asia and Middle East, all of that. But when I did hit Africa, Africa forever changed me.
Mm,
Um, in just so many different ways. And I think I do gratitude quite well in regards to just seeing the value in everything in my life. And it was, I remember the moment in Malawi, sitting in a little hut with a whole bunch of young African men and women, like girls and boys, probably in their teens, young adulthood. And I had a packet of biscuits with these vanilla cream thing on top. And, to me, it was just a snack. And I offered it to everybody. And watching this one girl, no joke, pretend this is the biscuit. And she was like,
Oh wow, savoring it.
and she would like, honestly, I was just mesmerized watching her eat this biscuit. That probably took her a good hour. And she probably filled her sweet tooth like treat, I
Yeah.
don't know, whatever it is in your tummy for the whole year
Yeah.
because of the way she ate that. And here I am
Yeah.
going, I'm like just
Yeah.
eating my biscuit, right?
Yeah.
Um, and it was just that moment that I just went, wow, like here I am scoffing a biscuit down. It's nothing for me. I can buy one of these for like a couple of bucks anytime. But to her, it was just the biggest treat ever.
Mm, so
I don't know,
true.
just moments like that you take that, in your travel and just seeing how people with nothing, really,
Mm,
Malawi is like the poorest of the poor. It's actually, there's a book I highly recommend called The Bottom Million. And I understand why Malawi is the heart of Africa, because they don't have the whole warrior fighters war. They didn't go to war as such. Like it's just such, but it's the poorest of the poor. And no jokes, that's where I feel like they gave us the most. They wanted to give us
yeah.
the most, and they
Yeah.
had nothing.
Yeah.
Like their schools is a hut with straw, like from the trees, like straw top huts, and sand on the floor, and the kids all bare feet just sit on that. 50 of them.
But that sounds
Um,
like heaven to me.
well, it is actually, but see what I mean? Like they've really got nothing. Like they have to walk quite
Mm,
a bit to go and pump water, all of it. But the spirit of the children and just the way that they are just blew me away, and how much they want
mm,
to give you and show you. Um, yeah,
yeah.
quite phenomenal.
I had a similar experience in South Africa with the orphanage I went to. I knew I was going to see them, and so I took toys and chocolate, and I took things with me to give to the kids.
Mm,
And I had no idea what to expect when I got there. And my experience of children was gimme, 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 like eyes light up, all chocolate, like exactly
mm,
what you were saying about gobbling, like, because
mm,
it's nothing to
mm,
us. And when I got there, I asked the lady who was running the orphanage, how do I do this? And she said, give it to the eldest child and they will pass it round and divvy it
mm.
out. And so that's what I did. And the respect and the way, the organization and the way that they operated, the eldest child gave everybody the same. Nobody ate until everybody had something.
Oh.
And there was no grabbing, there was no, like, and everyone was so respectful. And even the little tiny kids were really respectful. I mean, it was so beautiful because, of course, the way the older children behaved was an influence on the younger children. And
Yeah.
so they were all they all followed each other, and they were all very good friends, and nobody was fighting. I mean, I don't know if they were on their best behavior because we were there, but what I saw while I was there was
It's
incredible.
very different, and it really comes to like I just know in my own mothering journey, and I know, Juliet, this is a little bit away from becoming one of the body, but I really do think that it wraps up for this because this is what we get taught from quite a young age. And I think the disconnect with the body is because in Western culture in particular, because we've got the means and we feel like, and I caught myself doing this, because I came here with one toy. I was allowed to pick one toy to come with, right? And that one toy got smashed by my cousins in that first week we were here.
Oh,
And I was devastated. And that
yeah.
like just that whole letting go of my certainty to come to so much uncertainty, right? And I realized the pattern play out when I had children of how much I bought them. I even found that toy um, because it's a
Right.
classic kind of toy. So it's one of those little driver car things in a little unit, and it's just like makes all this noise, and it's got a little steering wheel, and it's got a little screen, and like the
Oh, I know what you're
I
talking
know it's like
about.
a really old school toy. Anyway, I found it and I bought that for them, and I realized in that moment how I was repeating that pattern of what like I lost, right? But because we live in this Western world of like, I'll just buy, 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 consume, 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 what I
Mm,
actually realized is how ungrateful my kids became the more I gave them. The
yep.
more I buy for them and the more I give them, the more disconnected they are with self and the more they want.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a dopamine hit of like, just give me, I got it. Okay, what's next?
Yeah.
And so
So true.
yeah, those children you're speaking about, part might have been on their best behavior because you were there, and they would with foreigners anyway.
Mm,
But I also do genuinely think that is the way they operate because they have so
mm,
little.
yeah.
It's like just a real appreciation, um, and savoring of what they receive
Mm,
because they don't know how long they'll have it for. They don't know when they may get it next. It's really fascinating psychology to watch.
mm,
Yeah.
I found with, not that I've met them in person, but just what I've witnessed through my mom and through, I guess, like what I see on the internet and with documentaries and stuff of these countries, and particularly the children, like their way of having fun, they have to invent it themselves. They
mm,
have to create their own fun. There's no finding it at a shop. I mean, that's literally what like kids in our society do, is they go to
Yeah.
a shop for fun a lot of the time. Not all the time, but a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And in countries like India and Africa and Lebanon and a lot of countries around the world, um, you have to connect to the land. Like, what do they play with? They play with a rock, or they play with like
mm,
um, a nut from a tree, or like a seed, or wooden, like a wooden
Nature.
carved thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
like all nature, and they're usually playing these things outside, and they're also very connected to their body as well. Like, if we're gonna link this to the topic, it's very much linked to the
Well,
topic
it's
of
no different to really also in Australia, Indigenous First Nation
yeah,
people,
yeah,
before we put our Western colonized ideas of, the toys that the children should have or the
mm,
the the consumerism onto them. Do you know what I mean? Before
yeah,
that,
yes.
and a lot of times it's actually, playing outside in nature with sticks and rocks and feathers and and I've experienced this here myself. So, and there's a lot to say to that in how like our biggest issue right now, I would say, with young people, my boys, I'll speak about here, but I do know that it spreads quite a bit, and I've heard so many mothers echo this, is the gaming.
Mm,
And I don't have an issue with technology and gaming itself, but what I do have an issue with is the dopamine hits that the kids keep on needing to get. So my
yeah,
boys, they're amazing, and they'll get up and they'll tick off their list, which I had to do because it had to be visual there for them to see. But literally, they wake up and they go to sleep thinking about their game.
right.
Their life actually, for them, revolves around it. And I see the disconnect with each other and to themselves because everything is driven about, I'm going to just quickly brush my teeth so I can get on my game. I'm going to quickly go do this so I can get on my game.
Yeah, right.
And that is such a disconnect, and I there's a whole part of me that just wants to rip that away and go, we're detoxing nothing for at least a week and more. um but it's a process.
Mm,
We
yeah,
what else. Look,
yeah,
I've got my son right here right now actually just complaining about it because when I logged him in this morning, it didn't give me an option to do it for more than half an hour. And it's just kicked him off. And he's like, and he's having, you know, So
Yep.
I'm just going to say to you, Ruben, how perfect, like the
I know.
synchronicity of talking about it, right? But Ruben, I'm just going to say to you, my love, I am so confident that you'll find something else to do for half an hour
Yeah.
and then I will log you back in again. Hear me? I didn't get a yes, I didn't get a no. That's a bit of a moaning yes. There you go, see? And then we just deal with it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm hoping in this time that he'll just be able to come back in his body and he'll use the tools that he has been taught. Um, just to come background, find something else to do, maybe cry it out if he needs to. I don't know. And we'll just come back to it at 11 o'clock when we're done and he can get on again. And but it's fascinating, right, when we're talking about
Yeah.
being in and out of our body and how it's all connected and how we
Mm.
even used to do things as children. I mean, at their age I was building cubby houses constantly.
I was just having this conversation with my son last night. It's so funny, um, because he loves gaming as well. He's got AFL, so I'm so grateful for his obsession with sport because he plays AFL and he absolutely adores it, and that brings him back into his body. So he has these two worlds in
Mm.
his life. And last night I was telling him, I can't remember how it came up now, but I said to him, what I used to do as a kid was we'd get all week after school and I'd practice with
Mm.
my sister and we'd come up with a little show.
Oh my god, I
Yeah,
did this too.
we'd come up with a little show and then
You'd sell little tickets.
no, it was just for my mum and dad. And then we would come in and say to them, "Okay, we're ready." And they'd come and sit down on the. We had a good lounge room and a everyday TV room. So it was
Mm.
always in the good lounge room. That was the theatre. And they would sit on the couch and we would do our performance for them. And that was our gaming. We loved it. We would think about it. We would plan it. We would
Mm.
come up, we'd practice. We would choose the music, and then at the end of the week we would perform it for them, and it was everything, like,
It is
I
so
just,
much fun. My boys actually were doing that in the beginning of our homeschooling journey.
yeah.
Um, But what I found is they were replaying a lot of the roles like of the
Oh,
gaming, but like around the Spartans and the Romans and like all of that sort of stuff. But
yeah,
I just think as long as we just create that safe space for them to do that,
yeah, of course.
and kind of also play out what's going on in the gaming so it doesn't become an issue so
Mm.
much.
Yeah, but I think there are positives about gaming, like the imagination
100%.
behind it, the stories.
Minecraft is a really good game for.
They never
Uh,
got into that. And I've watched so many kids play it. Like where I'm waiting for them at karate and other kids are waiting for their siblings and I'll sit and watch it, the children play it. It looks amazing, but my boys never
Mm,
actually really got into that. No, no, you're right. There is a lot of positives to gaming.
mm. You
I
just got to
don't
pick them
discount
out.
it.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
just got to
my
pick them out.
only issue with the gaming is when it becomes like a drug.
Yeah,
yeah.
When it becomes that we can't control our behavior because we're having a letdown, we're having withdrawals,
yeah,
we're not getting our fix. It
yeah,
becomes like a fix,
yeah.
and that behavior changes. And my boys are quite connected to their hearts, I believe. Like overall, for
Mm,
young, active, full of hormones boys at this age in particular, like they're just hitting into 10 and 12, and it's just that kind of next phase, I feel. They're quite good at being in their hearts. And I see that difference when everything becomes about the gaming, how out of their heart they become.
yeah.
Um, but that's not always the case.
Mm,
Like sometimes it's like, oh, okay, I've had my game. Okay, now I've got enough. Now I've got to do this. And I just continuously talk to them about balance. It's
yeah.
like there's the balance of playing a game, but then there's the balance of reading a book, there's the balance of us getting out and being outdoors. But the issue becomes when they don't want to do anything but, they can't think of anything but. And I'm like, okay, this is where we need a detox. And then when they also lash out at each other and want to break
Mm,
something or want to hurt something because they're not
mm,
getting their gain. It's like this is an issue, and now rather than you not having it for one day, you're not actually going to get it for a week because
yeah,
your system needs detoxing. But the great things about it, like it could teach them how to read, how to think, just a beautiful connection that they have with their friends,
yeah,
um, and just the way they're able to work stuff out.
yeah.
Um, and you know what? Someone said to me, and I'm like, this is so spot on. Where are my boys right now? Here I am doing this call with you, and my boys are here.
Yeah.
They're not out on the streets getting up to trouble and no good, and I don't know what they're doing with who. They're
Mm,
here. I can hear them. I know they're safe. They're at home. I know who they're connecting with, what they're
yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
So there is that element to it as well, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and that's why there's no good or bad. There's no good or bad.
Yeah.
Everything's about that balance
High
and that
five to you, Marilou.
perspective,
High
you
five.
know? I know,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I must say, I've got my own interpretation on this because when lockdown was happening and also before lockdown, so when I was from probably 15 to about 18, I would play a lot of video games. And I never got properly. I mean, I don't know.
You don't have an addictive personality.
I but
No.
I would play. I would love it. Like I
Mm.
would. I was passionate, right? I loved video games,
But it
but I could
wasn't
always
it
like,
wasn't like, oh, I've got to get on,
yeah,
like that.
Mm.
I
It
That's
could
the
wasn't
always
like
difference,
that.
leave and
though.
yeah,
Yeah.
But it's like no different to saying I love art and I'm going to sit
Mm.
and just paint for five,
Yeah.
6 hours. I don't have an issue with you doing that with gaming, but I have an issue if other things fall off the bandwagon. Like
yeah.
Yes.
No,
you
no.
you can't sleep because that's all you can think
Yeah.
about, or you can't, yeah.
100%.
no. Yeah, I. That was not my point. What I was gonna say is that I saw the in more of an insider view on like what goes on beyond the headphones, kind of.
Mm.
Mm.
And I think that it can actually be there's two very different sides to this, but you
It's how
can
you
pick and
use it. It's
choose.
how you
You
use
can
it.
always choose when there's someone bullying you or there's someone like giving you energy that you don't want to receive. It is as
Mm.
easy as just clicking a button and then you don't have to deal with it anymore.
Mm.
And
Mm.
then it's the same with joining someone that you know is going to uplift you or you're going to have fun with, you're going to laugh with, you're going to like it's the people that was the reason why I would play these video games. It
And same
wasn't
for Bryn. Yeah.
it's not about the game. I mean, the games are fun, but the games
Mm.
are fun because you're playing with all these other people
Yeah.
and you have your little posse of friends, and it's like a hangout. It's like
Yeah.
hanging out with your friends, and it's so amazing that it allows kids to have this control over who's in their atmosphere. Like
Yeah.
Mm.
you can't do that at school. You
Or
can't
the
do
shopping
that.
centre.
Yeah,
No.
no.
And
You
I would
have
rather, that's what I'm saying, I'd much rather my boys hanging out here doing exactly that rather
Yeah.
than going to God knows where and hanging out with God knows who. And you're right, they cannot control,
Yeah.
the bully
And
in that circle or whatever it may be.
yeah.
yeah, and the beautiful thing, like the lesson that I see Bryn learning is that, when he's in a game with people who are disrespecting him,
Mm,
he found it like at first, not Juliet, she was a bit older, but with Bryn, he found it like he didn't understand that if he left the game, he would be leaving behind the disrespect too.
yeah.
And but now he's getting a bit older, he understands that as soon as he's not enjoying it, he just needs to click out.
Yeah.
And he can come back later and rejoin when things have calmed down a little bit. But
Mm,
the danger is, or the thing that you need to worry, not danger, but the thing you need to really keep an eye on really is when the focus is so laser focused on what's going on in that square, which is the screen of the game,
mm.
and then you've lost your ability to think outside of that in real
That's
life. I can
exactly what I'm
just,
talking about.
yeah,
Yeah.
in real life, I can just go click and I'm gone. And I don't have to deal with what's going on, the fighting or, whatever. And then I've got the choice to come back later, half an hour later, an hour later, and
Mm.
rejoin when all the stuff is gone and, they're calmed down and stuff like that. And I used to say to Bryn, just leave for a little bit. Just say, look, I need a break. I'm going to go to the toilet. I'm going to get something to eat, and then I'll come back and relieve the pressure of what's going on.
Mm.
And I think he's starting to learn now that that's a tactic that he can use. And it's a life skill to be
Yeah.
able to say, I see what's going on here in front of me. I don't want any part of it. I'm just going to check out for a little
Check
bit.
out. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, totally,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah. It's discernment.
And I think that this is like just a small example of like the bigger things in life when you're an adult. Like
Yeah.
as I'm becoming an adult, I turned 20 the other day. So
Happy
I'm now,
birthday to you.
thank you. It's still a bit weird that I'm 20. It
Yes, for
doesn't
me too.
I
doesn't
can't even
fully.
imagine. Do you know, so you're the eldest, right?
Yeah.
Claudia, do you ever get teary with your oldest birthday every time?
Oh, she's Juliet's my first. So
Yeah,
everything
I know,
that
right?
cracks me open is through her
I
Yeah.
know,
because
that's like with my
I
eldest too, and then he's
experience
coming to 12. In a
yeah, I
couple of weeks, he'll be
experience all the
12.
firsts, all my
Yeah.
firsts with children with Juliet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, I've been blessed that I've been an au pair and I've always worked with kids in different kind of capacities. But seriously, like, when you become a mother, your eldest in particular,
Mm,
it's like, so I
yeah.
can't even imagine 20. But guess what? Guess what? Technically, psychologically, like brain-wise, you're not an adult till 25. You still got 5 years
yeah.
till
I'll
your
just use
brain
that.
is fully developed.
Yeah,
Go
I'll
easy.
just I'll use that whenever I get in trouble. I'll be like, Mom, I'm not an
Go,
adult.
this
My
lady,
brain's
Mary
not fully
Lou, said my brain's not fully developed, so that's why.
developed.
Yeah, so I don't know. Adulthood has been like it's only been a couple years, and even then, I would say it's not really has been because it's only been I would say from 19 to 20 because before that I was in lockdown. So,
Mm,
um, yeah, 19 and 20 have been really strange, and I've realized that you have to build on so much that you have learned as a child.
Mm,
Like you have to build on that, like or
yeah.
break it down. One of the two. You either like build on it or you break it down and you learn as you go through mistakes, through experiences, what you have to do. And
and use the tools that you learned as a child to grow yourself into adulthood.
Yeah.
yeah, and the biggest thing that I think has helped me is my connection to my like that childlike connection to myself. Like
Mm,
I've
Yeah.
always been very connected to my inner child, and my inner child is very connected to my heart, my
mm,
spirit, the spirit realm. Um, Connecting to my body is something I'm still learning, and that's
mm,
why um, it came to me as a topic. I think beyond other
Mm,
reasons, but also
mm.
because at the moment that's where adulthood, like my next test or whatever my next challenge quest
adventure.
adventure
Yeah.
Yeah.
is taking me is connecting to my body and really choosing what's best for my body because it's really hard when things are scary in front of you, like
Mm,
for example my wisdom teeth are coming in and
Mm.
I had to make a choice on whether or not I wanted to get my teeth, like my wisdom teeth, taken out or if I wanted to leave them in. And I really had to disconnect from what the dentists and the orthodontists were telling me because I know that they're telling me from the information point of view, and I know that that is only true if I allow it to be true, that I can
Mm.
choose my own thing. So I was like, do I want to go through with this procedure? Do I want to
Oh my
get my
heart.
wisdom teeth taken out? And I decided that I did because, um, as far as my body, I could feel that my body didn't feel safe with this risk added to my teeth because I've already gone through a lot of trauma with dentists, with teeth, and it was like the give and receive of like the money and the procedure is worth the
peace of
the
mind.
peace of mind
Mm.
and like not having to deal with the pain of them coming in,
Mm.
and that's the route that I want to choose. And then I also have this choice with a different aspect around my hormones and more of my reproductive area of, do I want to go down a medical route or do I want to choose my own thing? And like I'm still in the decision making process, but it's that is what's been really hard to like connect into my body, because it's such
Mm.
a, I mean, we're all women, we all know the pressure and the like traumas that come up, and the like, oh, I need to, there's just so much that comes up with it, and it's been really hard to listen to my body because there's like so much mixed messaging with my brain, with my ego, with society. And then
Particularly for women, society has a big voice
yeah,
when it comes to the body and what to do
Trust
with it,
yourself.
what it looks
Mm.
like, the reproductive side of things, you know, all of that stuff. There's just such a bombardment of opinion,
yeah,
Mm.
and being able to kind of block that out and walk your own path, I think takes a lot of strength. I mean,
Absolutely.
we went to the doctor to get a blood test, and
the doctor was so judgmental, like
so judgment, so much
so,
judgment.
and she was a woman too.
Yeah.
Out of all of it, she
She
was
was,
also
if
a woman.
anyone was disconnected from their body, it was her.
Yeah,
I think a lot of GPs that I've seen recently
Mm.
in the mainstream are very, very disconnected.
yeah,
I think
But
all the
I have
connected
my
ones have
own.
kind of, they
They've either
during
left or they're
COVID, they had to
integrative.
leave.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they've
yeah,
left or they're more like the integrative doctors.
yeah,
And a
yeah,
little while ago, I went and saw an integrative doctor that just said to me, "Don't trust doctors."
yeah.
She goes
So
because she
true.
said she said most doctors now they're trained by the pharmaceutical anyway, and they're just drug pushers. Really, it just comes at the
Mm.
end. Their training is about getting you on a tablet and getting
Yeah,
you
I've
on
seen that.
a prescription of some sort.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of friends that were pharmaceutical reps, and I've kind of got a glimpse through when I was an event, like when I worked in events and travel. I got a glimpse into that pharmaceutical world in because I supported them through travel and in events.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say it's just really interesting what perks speak,
Yep.
how perks and KPIs speak very, very strongly on what drives a GP to do what they do and offer what they offer.
It's a very
Um,
highly manipulated field, isn't it?
it is very
Mm.
much, and it is sad because you're right. Like even as a woman GP, she's disconnected so much from her body and
Mm.
driven by that extrinsic force of KPIs or what the textbook said. And if you didn't fit into that, then you know, for me, judgment is actually quite healthy. We judge, this is not good for me, this is
Yes.
good for me, this is a spider that's about to kill me or
Yes,
bite me,
Marilou, I
and
love it.
like
So
judgment is
true.
actually a good thing, but
Yeah.
when we condemn others through that judgment, that's when it becomes bad.
Yeah, when it's misused,
Um,
everything in life,
Everything, right?
everything that is in front of us is a tool. It can be used for good or bad.
100%. Yeah.
Not, and like you said, good and bad don't don't exist, but you can use it in a nefarious way to
In
hurt
a
others.
yeah,
exactly.
And a lot of people, I think, are choosing that choice to, but they don't realize that it's nefarious, and they don't realize they're hurting another
No,
person by doing it.
exactly. But also just wanted to add that when we condemn somebody, through that judgment,
Hmm.
and that saying of, oh, what you see in others exists in you. But what I actually also think is like when somebody, like she's condemned you, right? She's judged you for the questions you were asking or what you showed up with.
Yes.
But that is actually a reflection of her own insecurity or her own like knowledge,
Yeah.
yeah.
because
Oh, a
she
million
may
percent.
not yeah, if like she doesn't agree, say, with the holistic approach or with
Yes.
the non prescribed medication approach, that's where
Yes.
that judgment's going to come in because it challenges her own knowledge, her own
Yeah. So
bias,
true.
like so I don't know. I just find it. I'm in a really interesting space when it comes to people condemning me for whatever choices. Yeah, I say with homeschooling. I got lots of judgment and people
Yeah.
condemning me about that when like, oh, you're crazy, and I love it. One of my like one of my close friends, she's like, I thought you were crazy in the beginning, Mary Lou, but now I think I'm the crazy one for not doing it. Because she had to go through her own cycle. But why
Yeah.
did she judge that me as being crazy to begin with? Because it showed her her own insecurities about not being able to homeschool. So rather
100%.
than looking at that, because we're not taught to be connected to our bodies and our thoughts in that way. It's like I'm having this thought. What does that mean about me? And
Yeah.
we're not taught that, right?
Yeah.
So what is it easier to say? Oh, Mary Lou's crazy. Not,
Yeah.
oh,
Yes.
hey, why would I find it so hard to homeschool?
Yeah.
So it's just
What a
really just
great skill to have in your
interesting
arsenal
perspective.
to be able to say to yourself, why am I judging this person in this moment? What is it about me that's making me judge them?
Oh yeah.
Like,
And that to me is full connection to body. It's not just about the manicures and pedicures and facials and self-care and going, oh, I feel sad now. And, just like that's great. That's all great. And being aware of your emotions, but going actually that deep connection to
mm,
body. And again, I
mm,
think we spoke a little bit about it last time. It's about, to me, that's sovereignty. That
yes.
is, I'm fully responsible for me, my thoughts, my actions, the way I react to things. Can somebody hurt me? Of course they can say words that may hurt because I've taken them on to mean something about me.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
true.
But truly, that practice, and I'm still unpeeling those layers and removing them.
Mm,
I've got a big one right now in the way that my boys are playing and they're just being kids and they're kicking the ball outside. And, my next door neighbor doesn't like it.
mm.
The problem is, though, is that he's my landlord. And so it's got
Right.
me on edge. It's got me a little bit on edge, and I've had to fully own and not react. I've told the boys not to kick it. We've put a fence like a temporary those metal fence they use around construction sites. I actually had some here. So I went and bought the things for them to put them into the ground and put them up. But the ball does fly, and I get a call yesterday that it's dinted his colorbond fence. The ball's dinted his colorbond fence.
Oh my gosh.
And that's okay. This is and so my first thing is like, it's so beautiful, Julia, what you said. You're only not even 20 yet, not even, or just turned 20,
Just
Yeah.
turned
just
20.
turned 20. How beautiful is it that you're not at 40 something and going, let me sit here and see what is rising up for me. I can feel a
Mm.
bit of anger. Okay, I can feel a little bit of frustration. I can feel a little bit of fear that I might have to fork out a couple of thousands now to fix this
Yes.
fence up. And I come back to, well, how am I going to deal with this?
Mm.
Yeah, and it's such a process. And again, that's that real sovereignty. It's that true, deep connection to body,
Yeah.
to self, to, quite often I say to young people that I work with is like the most powerful question is how do I want to show up? It's okay to feel all the feels and go through all the, but how do you ultimately want to show up? Not because
Mm.
of what other people think, like show up for you.
Yeah.
How do I show up with my anger, with my frustration, sometimes I've screamed, sometimes I've yelled, sometimes I've cried, sometimes I've just sat in silence. But how do I choose? How do I do that and then process that?
Mm.
Yeah.
And that's just a really powerful thing. And I guess the more I get into doing some somatic stuff and just really, um, I'm bridging at the moment. I feel like I'm bridging all my learnings between the fast-paced like NLP and psych kind of stuff to the real slower somatic work and blending it together. I feel like that's where
Mm.
I'm really at with that. And who says you can't learn that when you're 20 and younger?
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
fact,
$100.
and you'll hear me say this time and time again, like a broken record. The younger you are, just like a language, the easier it is to pick it up. And that's why I love working with young people because when you give them these tools, they're just once their mind sees the evidence and connects it and understands it, so much easier to embody it and practice it and just live it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like my 4-year-old, uh, he's almost 10, but when he was 4 And I would be like out of my body and having a bit of a stress time, and he would just come to me, put his hand on my heart. It's okay, mum, come back in your body. He was 4, like he got that.
Wow.
And that's why, and I don't, he's, of course, he's special. He's my boy, but I really believe all kids are special like that.
Mm, yeah.
Once we give them the tools, boom, they just use them and apply them. There's none of this, um, the ego, the chitty chatter, all the other stuff getting in the way that we build on as we grow older.
Yeah.
Mm.
So you're
Yeah.
already ahead, Juliet, just by being able to go, I'm not going to just jump into this, but hey, I'm going to look at this. And I'm just going to say it doesn't have to be medical or holistic. It can be
Yeah.
medical and
Yes.
holistic.
Yes, we've
That's
realised that.
what I'm figured out.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm kind of doing at the moment. That's the path that I want to follow.
Yeah, and isn't
Where,
that beautiful? You're listening to your body, like, what do I need? Like,
yeah.
wow, wow.
Yeah, it's I must say, like, it's been probably the scariest thing I've faced in life, because I'm the, like, I don't have a mum to blame. Like, I can't be like, you made me do this, like, I'm just a child and I don't have,
Yeah.
like, so it's me deciding, like, it's very scary of something not being what I, because I have a vision of what I want this to be for me, because
Mm.
it's like a very intense thing. So I have a vision of the path that I want to go down, and I'm scared all the time that the path that I'm going down is not the right path.
Welcome to my life.
So I
So may I
just,
just ask you, can I put a coaching hat on? Is that okay if I just put a coaching hat on and just ask you a question there?
yeah, of course, of course.
So if you were to speak to the fear, what is that fear actually about? Is it actually about the procedure, or what is it truly about?
My fear is around it, so it's around things not changing. It's around me staying the same. It's around like hitting a brick wall, and because I've gone down the just holistic path and it didn't work. Nothing changed in my body, my hormones. I mean, maybe there was a few changes, but it didn't basically get me to where I wanted to go.
Mm-mm.
And the medical path scares me even more, because I feel like I have to sell part of myself, like sell part of my soul in a sense, to get it, and to go down this path in a way. And I'm scared that I'm going to sell that part of my soul, even though but it's
Yeah,
still
it's a
like,
judgment in you.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
that judgment that I'm going to go down this road, I'm going to betray my beliefs in a sense, and then it's still not going to, like, it's still not going to get me where I want to go. So that's where
But I
the
don't think
fear is.
my little 2 cents in there is the walking the path and trying something different is the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you're not really betraying yourself, because when you surround yourself with people who who care about that stuff, which I think you're doing, you're not going to someone who's just force feeding you drugs and telling you this is the only way you can do it.
Mm.
um I have faith in you, in your decision making abilities, because of the compass that you have, that internal compass that's telling you this doesn't feel right, this feels right. Is just to take it one day at a time. And yes, that judgment in the back of your mind and that fear about selling your soul and making decisions that go against you, that is what's going to keep you on the right path.
Yeah.
That dialogue in your mind is going to keep you checking in with yourself. Does this feel right for me?
Yeah.
It's
And your
good to
soul
have.
wouldn't lie to you, babes. Like your soul would not lie to you about,
Yeah.
is this, asking that question is one of the most powerful things, and checking in with your body, with your
Mm-hmm.
heart and with your gut, like those brains, your intuition, your soul, that will never lie to you. And what quite often happens is that from a very young age, we get disconnected with that. And that's why we don't trust ourselves. So, we want to talk about becoming one with the body. Becoming one with the body is about trusting yourself, and trusting that even if you make a choice and it doesn't work out to be right, that actually was the right choice, because you made
Yeah.
it. and
Yeah.
you now can change it. And it's about that full trust in self, is what it really comes down to. It's not about
Mm.
trusting them. It's about, oh, here's a pill, Juliet. Is this pill right for my body or not? Okay, I'll take this pill. Actually, no, it doesn't feel right. I can stop it. And see
Yeah.
how that condemning of self, we can resolve and dissolve that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
rather than, um, oh my God, I don't want to do this because I'm going to sell my soul. And what if I do? Like when we start getting into that, we've disconnected with our heart, with our gut, and we've just gone into the brain and the head only. And
Yeah.
the brain and the
Because
head is
we're acting from
amazing,
fear.
but it's amazing. It keeps us safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then we don't make those decisions, and then that's where that disconnect. And most people live from here up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
So
so
true.
not connected with down. And for women, connecting with our womb, connecting with our reproductive system, that's life.
Yeah.
Whether you're going to have babies or not or whatever, but that's still life. And
Mm.
connecting with that is so important. And I
Mm.
bet the more you connect with that, the more your issues are going to change anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And take it from someone who, I've been on a huge um, journey with my menstrual cycle. And, I had to have an operation in my late 30s because I wasn't going to be able to be around for the kids if I didn't.
Yeah. Right.
And I looked at all options and I did the whole holistic stuff and the non holistic stuff. And this was the second last option actually. And I love it so much more than the last option I had. Like my last option was a hysterectomy, and I really did not want to go down that path because I don't
Mm.
believe in removing organs from the body, tonsils, whatever. I don't. I think everything is there unless like a burst appendix, but everything's there in the body for a reason. It was made that way for a reason. And when we take it out, we create a whole bunch of other problems, right?
Yes. So true.
Um, so I feel when I hear what you're saying, and I guess the older me is giving the younger you that sort of advice of just coming back, connecting with that aspect, and it will never let you down, even if it works out to be the wrong decision. It was actually right for that time. It wasn't wrong, if that makes sense, because that's what your body needed at that time.
Yeah.
And we can choose to rewrite how we see the medical system, what we see it for, and then we can work with it, right? Because I haven't
Mm.
been in hospital for over 5 years, and then you can imagine some of the fear that came up having to step into a hospital with masks, with all the craziness, with this. And you know what? I tapped back into that gut, and I tapped back into that energy, and speaking with my body. Um, and it changed even the outside energy of how the nurses were with me and how the doctors were with me.
Yeah.
And I'd been in hospital now 5 times in a matter of 2 weeks, and every time the experience has actually touched wood has been amazing.
Yeah.
You know what? I totally agree with that. Like, when I would go into the doctors or, whatever, the dentist with my mum, I had my mum to be strong for me. So I was allowed to have my scary thoughts because I had my mum to protect me. And I viewed the medical system
I just got
as,
goosebumps.
yeah, like as a very, like, whenever I walked into something medical with my mum, I would still be scared, and I would hold this view of, they're robots, these doctors are robots, everything is so different from me, like they're not human in the way that they talk to me. And then I would
Mm,
have that fed back to me, because what you believe you create, what you think you create. And so that's what would happen. And then the other day, mum was at work and I had to go into an orthodontist appointment by myself. So this was the appointment that we had to book my actual removal, that they looked at my teeth. Like, it was a big one. And I had to go by I had to go with my dad, and which means I had to break down my wall of fear, because my dad, I love him very much, but he's not as good as being
An advocate.
Yeah, like he's not like mum, where mum can be really strong and stand up for me and stuff.
Ooh, I
But it
love
was a
all this.
gift.
Oh my God, there's so much even to unpack in that.
But it
I love it.
it's it's
Do
a
you know
good
why?
thing.
Do you know why? Because I've been studying a lot of the whole masculine, feminine ways. Um, and quite honestly, he's actually very strong for you because he's allowing you to step into your
Yeah.
own.
Yes. That it's a gift. It was a
So both
gift.
are such
Yeah.
a gift, right? That's
Yeah.
the
Yeah. They're both such a gift. Or yeah, definitely. But it was interesting because I walked into this office and what I realized looking back is like I couldn't hold my fearful beliefs anymore because I didn't have mum
You had to
to
listen.
like protect me
Mm.
from it, because even
yeah.
though I would be fed back what I believe, like yeah, the doctors would treat me like they're a robot and I'm not a human, like it would be a very non-human experience with my mum. I
Mm,
still felt okay because I had my mum there,
of
like it was
course.
still going to be all right. But this time it was like, no, there's I can't hold any of that here, like I
There's
have to
no
be
room.
strong, there's no
Yeah.
room. I have to be strong for myself. I have to take initiative. I have to be the one to ask all the questions. I have to like be my own advocate here. And so I stepped in not knowing what to expect, and it was the most human experience. Like me and the dentist were like laughing at one point. Like dad met up with the receptionist to like book in for the appointment and stuff, and they were like, oh, are you from England? And they're both from England, and they're having this talk about England. And I was
How
just like,
gorgeous.
So different.
what is going on? Like I have gone to so many different like appointments before with the
Mm,
dentist, or with the orthodontist, and not all of them have been bad, but they've never been like talking to a regular human being. Like
Hmm.
it's
mm,
always something. So it just shows that when you take control a little bit of your own reality, and you, not
mm.
even of outside, like when I say your own reality, I mean your
Internal.
thoughts. Yeah, your
Yeah.
thoughts and your what you're speaking to yourself. And like literally I had a mantra of just like, you can do this, Juliet, you can do this. Everyone, like this is such a human thing, like everyone do, not maybe not everyone, but thousands of people do this. I can do this, like
Mm.
it's fine.
Isn't it
And
amazing? That self talk is so powerful. I'm
It's
actually
it
going to
so
come
is.
back
yeah.
to this and I'm going to play this for my boys. I almost wish I didn't have these on.
Mhm.
Because hearing you and just like hearing a young person say what you just said is
Mm.
just really, really powerful. And you know, and this is what I say to so many people I work with, and especially the parents that bring their children to me. It's like, why do we wait? Why can't we have 20-year-olds speaking like this and learning through this? And see, the thing is, you're still going to go through the next 20, 40, 60, whatever years, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to have all these challenges and all this life just happens. But
Mm.
how amazing is that you've got these tools and this awareness from now and before
Yeah.
that you've built on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's almost like without any pressure, or you know, this is not anything for you to wear on your shoulders, but like what a great model you are for a lot of
Mm.
young people.
Thank
And
you.
kudos to you, Claudia, like in what you've role modeled to that as well.
Yeah, because
Um,
what happened for me, like, all I did was I gave Juliet the space to choose for herself, because when I was a child I didn't have that. I had a lot of
mm,
problems with my teeth as a child too. And a lot of the decisions around my teeth were made when I was very young, and they weren't they were scary. It was that I was put in situations where I didn't have a choice, and that was really
yeah,
hard for me. And so this time with Juliet, I made the mistake very early on that I made a decision for her when she was young. And I didn't like the way it made me feel as a mother.
yeah,
And it wasn't great for her either. And so from that point on, I decided she was going to be her own advocate
mm,
all the way along. So she got to choose, do I want this in my life right now?
yeah,
Regardless of the teeth, regardless of her health, regardless of any of it, if it wasn't life threatening, she got a choice whether she
yeah,
wanted to deal with it then or when she was older.
Yeah.
and which was where the judgment was coming in from that doctor, because she couldn't understand why we waited for some of the things that we've waited for. And the most important thing was that we waited because Juliet wasn't ready to make the decision for herself.
But that is that whole, oh, we bang on about this and my body, my choice. And, we're teaching it to kinder kids from such a young age, but really it's not.
Yeah,
It's really not. Like, as a
yeah,
society thing, it's like, oh, my body, my choice up to a certain point. But then
yeah,
I'm
because
older
as a
than you, I know
parent,
best. I'm mum, I know best. I'm the teacher, I
yes,
know best. I'm the
yes,
doctor, I know best.
yes,
You
that's
know?
exactly the point I'm making here. What you're
Yeah,
saying is that
yeah,
when we are in front of a doctor and they're giving us advice, and we still get to choose.
that's
Doesn't
right.
matter how old we are, doesn't matter who we are, it doesn't matter where we are at in
Yeah.
our journey, health journey. And that's something that I saw with my dad too, who died of motor neurone disease.
Mm,
Even though he had a terminal illness, he still had a choice with the way he wanted to proceed with his medical journey.
mm,
And he made his choices that people didn't understand. And he told me things about the way he was going to, because I was his carer. He told me things about what he wanted for the future for himself on his path that I
mm.
didn't understand. I couldn't understand why he was choosing the things that he was choosing. And I said to him, I don't understand why you wouldn't want to fight, why you wouldn't want to continue with the drugs, and why you wouldn't want to continue with things like that.
Mm,
And it wasn't for me to understand. It wasn't my journey. I just had to hold
no.
space for him.
What a gift
And
he gave
yes,
you.
so true.
Wow.
Yes. And that is what I want for Juliet. I want her to have
Mm,
autonomy in front of the medical industry. She still gets to choose, even when the advice is this is the path because they've got all the experience or whatever.
yeah.
It's still her choice. And that is what I learned from my experiences in my life to give her as a mother. My guilt and the pressure that I'm getting from the medical industry or from other parents or
Mm,
from the media doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's not
yeah.
about me. It's not about me being a good parent. It's not, this whole thing is not about me. It's about Juliet, and it's about her choosing for herself in the face of all of that. And all my
Mm.
job is to hold space for her and to be that person that supports her decision.
But imagine if all of us did this with our children, how
Yeah.
connected to their bodies our children will be,
Mm. And
right?
now she's learning, you hear her speaking to you, she's
Yeah,
learning that that responsibility is scary.
it is. It
It's
is.
really scary to think I'm going to be choosing for myself and I could choose wrong. I don't
And
know because
like
I
it's
don't
that's what I
see.
think I was also getting to is that yes, you could choose wrong,
Mm,
and
but it doesn't
it's
matter.
it's exactly, and it's about trusting that you can deal with choosing wrong,
Yes.
because choosing wrong is actually right for you.
Yes.
Like, I'm gonna just take it even out of the context of body and health or whatever. I came back to Australia. I used to work for Qantas Airways, and then I went off and lived in the UK for a year, and I wrapped up my work there, and I got into events and so on. And then when I came back, I applied for two jobs, one with Emirates Airline and one with a professional conference organizer. And I got interviews for both, and I got offered jobs for both. And in that moment, I sat with it and I'm like, oh, which one do I actually want to do more? But I processed it from a head perspective. And I did the whole tick the boxes. Oh, I've worked for
Mm,
an airline before. Maybe I should do something new. Da 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 da. I didn't actually drop into my heart or my gut and say what feels exactly right for me. And if I was really truly honest, I was 29. 30 when this, right? So if I was really honest with myself and I go back, Emirates would have been actually what my heart wanted to do. But my head took over in that if you've already done airlines before, why are you going to be going backwards? You've always wanted to work in the events, professional conference organizer is going to be both. So I picked that based on all the list in my head, right?
Yeah.
But if I actually dropped into my heart and my body, I just wanted to work for an airline, reservations. It was easy, but I was worried about how I would be seen, and all that condemning came through
Yeah.
of what others would see me as, right?
Yeah.
Now, I've always wished I worked for Emirates, and I could have beaten myself up about making that other choice. But if I didn't make that other choice, I actually wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be
Yeah,
in the
right.
coaching. I wouldn't have come back to my psychology degree because I might have been really in a cushy job with Emirates. So I guess what
Yes.
I'm saying is that whatever decision we make, if we truly stop and just say whether we're making through here or here, and even now, I wouldn't have known the difference between making a decision from my head or my
Yeah.
heart.
You needed
Like if
that
we
lesson.
don't go through it and
Mm.
experience it, we won't know. So all I'm
Yeah.
just saying is through that experience is just don't shit on yourself. That's the practice. And that's that then coming back and being one with the body because you're not shitting on yourself. You're not going to
Mm.
be like, I made this decision. Oh my God, how could I make the wrong decision? And can you feel the pressure in your body coming down when you start expanding it to that?
Yeah.
Because it's not about actually making the wrong choice. It's about how do I handle it if it's not right for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
How would you handle it? I mean, gosh, if you speak the way you do and you can handle it that way, I have no
Yeah.
qualms. You'll handle it in a beautiful way, right?
Yeah.
Because of who you are. So, what could go wrong, really?
Yeah.
And do you see how that responsibility, because this is the big thing again in my work, it's like, how do we make children more responsible? And it's not about more responsible to pay bills and, clean houses and all that. Like, it's not that kind of responsibility. But again, it's that connection to body and being responsible on how they show up, how they treat others, what they say, how they treat themselves and what they say to themselves.
Yeah.
That's that sovereignty, that's that responsibility. And when we can
Mm.
change the narrative around responsibility, it doesn't have to be so heavy.
Yeah.
It can actually be exciting.
Yeah. So true.
It can be liberating. It's connecting me back to my body.
Mm.
That shifts so much. I hope that helps.
Oh, I
And
love
thank
all
you
of
for
that.
allowing me to put my coaching hat on a little bit.
Oh.
um,
Oh. We love
so
the coaching hat.
yeah. Yeah. But I just realized the time's my love, and I just want to
Hmm.
say thank you to everybody that's listening, or will come back to listen. And obviously, I'll share this in my space as well because we always have such delicious talks. And Juliet, I've got to get
Yes.
you on a YouTube, like talk with me. Once I'm
Yes. She
better,
would love
once
to.
this is healed, we'll
Yeah.
organize something.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, I would
Yeah.
love that.
But
Thank
I
you,
am going to
Marilou.
tend to my beautiful 12-year-old who I've heard him processing his emotions. I'm so impressed with how connected he is with his body right now. And I'm just going to go and sort that out for him so he can feel, have a little bit of fun before we head off to a homeschooling pod.
All right.
Okay.
Mwah.
I love you, ladies.
We love you
Stay
too.
awesome.